What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr, and today I'm going to bring you a tournament report for Dark Worlds that got me first place at the Rarity Collection event. As you can see, I was able to win this amazing mat featuring Eldritch the Golden Lord, and that was able to do that with Dark Worlds going undefeated. Now I won 3 rounds and drew once. My draw was against Tier Elements. We did a really good game 1 and a really good game 2, but ultimately there was a minute left before we entered into game 3. By the time both of us would have decided there was no way that we could have got into a game 3, so we had to call it there as a draw. The final matchup, or the final round, was against the Dark World mirror match, which is actually very interesting. I opened up incredibly well, was able to hand loop them and won the dice roll. And then going second, he didn't open up so great, and I was able to control the board with Fenrir, which I've introduced back into the deck. My other rounds included TG as round 1 and Mathmex as round 2. So it was a little bit rogue, which is why I was able to play this deck and this exact build and do exactly what I needed to. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. I'm just going to snap through, show you the entire list of monsters, then spells, then extra deck, and then side deck, just to kind of explain them all in one go rather than laying them out, because they're all pretty much similar to previous builds that I've done before. So, let's show you the full lineup of the monsters now. Here is the monster lineup, all pretty straightforward and simple. The only changes that I made to the previous builds is I added Fenrir back in and I added Brow in for the Dark Worlds. So just so you can hear me say what exactly I've got 3 Snow, 3 Genta, Rainbow, 2 Grepher, 1 Gold, Ceruli, Silver and Brow, then 2 Nessie, 2 Mothman, 1 Bigfoot, 1 Jackalope, 1 Zephyros, and one thing I will say about this, I'm probably going to cut this card completely. It was one of the easiest side out cards I ever played, so this one always came out. Salamander Catalyzer, 3 Gen, 1 Ken, and then triple Fenrir, which again, on reflection, it wasn't that busted, but it was one of the ones that in the games that I saw it helped me win the duel. Like in the Dark World mirror match, which I have got a duel up, I'm not too sure if this will come out before or after all of the duels come out. You can see how Fenrir is the difference in the mirror match and how it puts in so much work. So the lineup is pretty standard on this one. I did side out some of the Ken engine for Lava Golem when I was going second, but I do feel that this is the best normal summon of the entire deck. The only issue is because the entire deck always activates in grave, field, or grave or hand. This is the biggest attraction target for an Ash, or Imperm, or a Veiler, which is what happened more times than not. So this was always getting impermed, it was always getting ashed, it was always getting veilered, but though I was able to still play around because that's where the rest of the Dark Worlds come. So it's kind of a necessary sacrifice if it does get stopped, and if it doesn't get stopped, to resolve the Ken to make you discard a card and get your secondary effects of your Dark Worlds is unbelievably powerful. Absolutely insane, and there is no, like, I can understand why people say why you wouldn't want to play the Gen and Kens, but honestly, I think it is still the best normal summon of the deck. Unless you are building a deck to go second, where Lava Golem is, of course, predominantly better, I still feel that this is the best normal summon of the entire deck. So that's it for the monster lineup. I don't think I need to go into much more detail on this. Like I said, the only thing that I would definitely take out is Brown no longer needs to be in here. It was something that I put in as I was thought, okay, let's see how this goes. It would be quite nice that maybe if I don't want to hand rip my opponent completely, or if I want to do something else, I can discard Brow, and so draw 2 off of Ken, discard 1, and then Brow draw me 2 more cards. Like, being able to get into my side cards, being able to get me into Thrust and Talents and everything else was just a really kind of cool option that I thought would be good to work out. The draw did come up a couple of times, which is quite nice, but ultimately that's only when I was desperately digging the deck to try and find another piece. So it was only useful when I was in a position of desperation rather than being in a position of control, which is kind of what you want more times than not. So that's the monster lineup. Now let's show you the spell lineup. So the spells are pretty standard here. 2 Thrust, 1 Talent, 1 Card Destruction, 1 Corridor, and then 2 Gates, 1 Archives, 1 Accession, and 2 Eclipse. Eclipse was the MVP in most of my games, just because very few people were expecting it, and especially when they were building boards or trying to build boards that like they needed to then continue to link climb off or anything else. When I was able to Book of Eclipse them, it really did stop them in their tracks. And there was definitely a matchup in the Tier Element one where Book of Eclipse in their board was just insanely powerful. And if it wasn't for me not expecting Nib and running it into it head first, I would have done okay with that. I saw Gate in my hand way too many times, and it just kind of reiterated to me why I don't want to play this card at 3. Personal preference, I know some people play it at 2, some people play it at 3, but ultimately I do not want to see this card in my hand at all, and I saw it way too many times at 2. I'm never going to put it at 2, put it at 1, so I'm definitely not going to be putting it at 3. Everything else is pretty standard on this one. I would have liked the idea of playing a second talents. I just didn't have the second talents with me on the day. I've obviously put it in a different deck and didn't bring it with me. But ultimately, this ratio worked out perfectly fine for me. Everything put in the work that it needed to. The recyclability of a session is absolutely insane. And then in the tier element matchup and in the Dark World matchup, being able to take out Mothmans and card destructions, again, is absolutely insane. And you'll see that in the mirror match of the Dark World mirror match where they activate Mothman. Now, to me, I cut Mothman down to 1 in that matchup. It was a very easy side out because I was able to put in Draw and Lockbirds. And I was like, you know what? I would never really want to reveal the Mothman because if it does get hit, I know it's a slim chance, but if it does, that draw and discard is just invaluable for both players. So, like, giving that to a tier element player or giving that to the Dark World mirror match is just insane. So, yeah, that's it for the spells. Now let me show you the extra deck. The extra deck again is pretty standard, so 2 Grepher, 1 Underworld Goddess, Zelantis, Skuldred, Appaloosa, Akashic, Crosssheep, IP, Muckrucker, 60 Daguerres, 41 Baguska, 38 Hope Harbinger, Giant Trainer, and Sky Slayer Typhoon. Now, I put the Giant Trainer in because I needed a time con or a win con in time. Honestly, I just played so much faster. Like, when I knew my opponent let my first thing resolve, I knew they didn't really have an Ash or a Droll, so I was able to play a little bit faster. And I said to my opponent, at any point you need to stop me, then stop me, but otherwise I'm just going to build up my board. And the only matchup I went into time was a tier element matchup, which of course is going to be a long one because if they're able to trigger effects during my turn, they're going to play during my turn just as much as I'm going to play during theirs. The Sky Typhoon, some people did mention to me, like, were you not worried that if you have the field spell up, that Typhoon kind of negates his own effect of being able to bounce a card back? And I was like, to be honest, no, because the idea of Typhoon is you just want it to be a skill drain. The only time you ever really need to use its bounce effect is if your opponent has a massive towers on the board or something that is stronger than Typhoon. Whereas if I've got Typhoon on the board with the field spell, it only stops monsters above 3,000 activating their effects. So the skill drain effect is still going to be in application the entire turn, which is really kind of nice. But the idea is behind it is you still want to use it as a boss monster. So the fact it only negates activate effects and the skill drain is a continuous effect, it means that that stays on board. And I never summoned it, but in that scenario, it's like, okay, well, either I play it when I don't have Darkwood on the board, and the only using this as a further extender to turn a weaker monster into a stronger monster, or to bounce a card, or to skill drain. So its applications are like one of desperation. If you've got space, you can put something else in if you want to. Like I said, I never went into this. The ones I went into the most was Appaloosa, Akashic, Crosssheep, Skuldred, Zelantis. I completed the Zelantis combo against a tier matchup, which was absolutely insane because they played during my turn just as much, and I was like, I cannot leave their board with 4 monsters. I need to clear it off, and I was able to Zelantis lock the board out, which is really, really important. So extra deck, pretty standard on that one. No major issues with it. I'm probably going to go for Gaga Cowboy over Giant Trainer just because there's less restrictions on it and I feel that it's easier to make Cowboy. But again, that's something that I didn't have on me, whereas I did have Giant Trainer on me at the time. So now let me show you my side deck. For the side deck, of course, we've got triple Droll, double Nib, double Lava, double Kurakara, double Cosmic Cyclone, and then 1 Dark Ruler, Eradicator, D-Barrier, and Evenly. Now, notably, Dark Ruler and more should definitely be Harpy's Feather Duster. Again, I forgot that I even didn't pack it. It was really bad preparation on my behalf. I wasn't expecting to play today. I only played because it was odd numbers, and this was the deck that I had ready with me. For siding, Droll would go in these specific matchups, so would Nibs, Lava Golems, and Kurakaras. Evenly went in once, D-Barrier went in once, Cosmics, Dark Rulers, and Eradicators didn't go in at all. So it all comes down to the environment that you're playing in, what you're facing. But yeah, like the highlight of the day was Kurakara nuking my opponent's entire board and then bringing back their window to window lock them. They were able to break out of it because I held the negation back way too long. But it was just a really kind of cool interaction. Other than that, again, it's pretty standard, does exactly what it says on the tin. The reason that these are all one-ofs is because you set them off of thrusts. And that's where I would say you probably want Harpy's Feather Duster instead of Dark Ruler. Luckily, I didn't face the Labyrinth matchup while I was there. If I did, then I would be ruined not having that a little bit more. I mean, that's pretty much it. So, yeah. Relatively standard. Like I said, most of these were going in. The cards that I was taking out were stuff like I would drop Mothman or Card Destruction in certain matchups. I would then take out the Zephyros the Elite. I would also adapt. If I knew I definitely wasn't going first, I would take out Ceruli and I would risk taking out Silver to keep the gold in. If I knew I was definitely going first, I could take the gold out if I wanted to as well, so I had very good flexibility on that one. Yeah, and then just adapted it with what I was facing and who I was facing and everything else like that. So that is it for the entire profile and the side deck. Like I said, went fully undefeated. Very good locals, actually. Very ranged with the matchups that were there. But it was really fun. Couple of interesting and interactive matchups. And I was quite happy that this did better than my previous version, where I think I just played... I didn't play slow, but I was taking a little bit more time with my plays. Whereas now, I'm more confident in what I want the outcome of my boards to be. And if I do get stopped, then there is a little bit of thinking time to try and figure it out, but not enough that I run into time way too often. And the fact of the matter is, the fact that I didn't win in time through burn damage and I didn't go into time bar once in a matchup, which is a very good grindy matchup back and forth anyway, which is near impossible not to go into time when you're in a tier element matchup with this particular deck. Yeah, I thought it did really well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Any questions at all, by all means, please put in the comments down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. But for now, as absolutely always, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling!